in-depth training for the Check Quotes feature in Lexis for Microsoft Office. The version I'm using is version 8.0.11. Before going through the feature in detail, I do want to talk about a particular preference in options that may be of interest. If you go to the Check Quotes tab, you'll see this preference. And if you check it, what it will do is, in a situation where the quotation in your document only differs from the quotation in the source text on Lexis Advanced by the fact that some text is omitted, if it's already properly marked with ellipsis, we will mark it as correct. Now, the caveat to that is that we will not therefore flag if there have been omitted citations. So that's something to keep in mind if you do choose to use this. We'll talk about an example of what that looks like in just a minute if the option is not chosen. But first, let's talk about what you will see that's different if you don't perform check site format first. So let's look at the first example. So here we can see that our quote has been flagged as having an incorrect pinpoint page. So what you'll see here, because we did not do check site format first, is a pop-up link that says View Suggested Pinpoint Page. So what happens is you'll see a suggestion for a change, but you can't automatically make that change. Now you still could go here and just do a manual edit, but as you'll see when we run check site format first, it's a bit more efficient to run that first and then be able to automatically change this with the tool. I also wanted to point out this example so we can see the difference between using that preference and not using it. So if you don't choose the preference relating to only having a discrepancy because of omitted text, what will happen is your quotation will be marked with a yellow triangle, and you'll see in the top your quotation and in the bottom the source text showing you what was missed so that you can basically confirm whether or not that's what you wanted to omit. All right, so now we are going to perform check site format first so that we can see that different capability with the pinpoint page. So as we can see here, I have two short sites that really should be full sites. So I'm going to perform a correct all. Once I've done that, I am going to rerun check quotes. And when check quotes is running, again, it is checking both the substantive accuracy of the quote as well as the pinpoint site accuracy. All right, so let's talk about a few items before we go through our results. So first of all, there's a reporting feature. You can email or print the results that you see here. So you'll see something like this, and this can be useful if, for example, you're a paralegal reviewing a document for an attorney and you want some input on whether you should make any changes to any of the quotations. The other thing I want to point out is the scoreboard. So we can see here that there are 6 quotations in our document. If they're marked with a green check mark, they're correct, both substantively and with respect to pinpoint site. If you see a yellow triangle, there could be one of 3 issues. It could be a substantive quote issue, a pinpoint site issue, or both. If there's a red square, that means that either the quoted text does not exist in the document you've cited to, or it can mean that we can't find the cited document. And some possibilities for that situation are that the publication you're citing to is a West publication, so we don't have it on Lexis Advanced for that reason. Or it may be that the case you're citing to is a table case. So we can't decide what case to look at because there are multiple cases with the same citation. The other possibility is that on Lexis Advance, your cited document may be on multiple pages, and that can create an issue also. So let's go through these individually and talk about what you can do. So going back to this first site, again, the pinpoint page is flagged as incorrect. However, this language is changed to reassign pinpoint page. And what that means is we can change this automatically with a tool by clicking on it and performing submit. So this will be fixed in both our document and the other thing I do want to point out here is that if you have some question or you want to confirm that the pinpoint site is actually correct in our suggestion, if you click on Get Source Document, you will be taken to Lexis Advance and the full text document will be pulled up. It will start you at your original pin page, so you can either scroll to the suggestion or you can do a search. And if you do a search, you do want to put that search in quotation marks so you don't get unnecessary hits. So now I can review. That's in a head note, so I want to go to the next instance. This is in my document, and it is on page 744. So let's review our next example. But before talking about that in detail, I do want to mention that you do have the capability to just review quotations with a certain status icon. So for example, if you only want to look at the ones that have suggestions for correction, you can do that. We won't do it in our training because we want to review all the different examples for different reasons. So let's go back to the second example. Here we can see there's a pinpoint page issue as well as a substantive quote issue. If you do have that situation, we do recommend that you do the reassignment of the pinpoint page first before doing any substantive quote changes. So now when we're looking at that, we can see that the top box is what's in our document and the bottom box is the source text with the differences highlighted. Based on the information we have, we can then do a use current to leave it as is, use source text to bring the source text into our brief and change our quote that way. We can do a mark my changes. So what that will do is if we've made changes to the source text and we want to use that perhaps for the context in which we're using the quotation, we can have it marked with either brackets or ellipsis to show changes or omissions. Your final choice is to let me edit my text, and that will allow you to edit the text from your brief while looking at the source text. What I'm going to choose to do here, what makes the most sense, is to mark my changes. So when I click on Use Current, you can see that it's been changed in my document. Our next example, if you recall, has shows the effect of that preference, where if the only distinction is that some text has been omitted and we've shown that with ellipsis, it will be marked as correct. So if you still want to look at it, you can go to Get Source Text, but this may save you time in review if you're not concerned about something where you purposely reviewed the quotation and put in ellipsis to show an omission. So the next one is an example where we could not find this quotation in the document cited. So whenever you click on the quotation in the list, it will take you to where it is in the document. and that can be helpful for review purposes, such as in this case. If we look at this more carefully, we can see that this quotation actually does not come from this price case, but is actually an allegation in the plaintiff's complaint. Therefore, it's not really a quotation we'd care to review. So we can mark that as not a quotation. And what will happen is it's removed from our list. And if we were to do a refresh report or run check quotes a second time, it would still not be pulled into the list unless we happen to remove citation metadata. Looking at the next example, this again is a situation where no matching quote was found in the Jones case. Now, in that instance, what we can also do is run search Lexis Advance. And what will happen here is our quote will be put into the big red search box on Lexis Advance with quotation marks to see if we can find where that quote actually appears. So it looks like it appears in this Garcia case. And if we click on this to take us to the quote itself, we see it here, and if we scroll up a little bit to find our pinpoint page, we can see it's on page 309. So we'll keep that in mind. And then if we go to the top, we can copy the citation and correct our citation in the document. So we're going to delete the incorrect citation, put in our correct citation, and add our pin page. All right, and close this. So after I talk about the last quotation, what I'm going to do is run a refresh report so that we can double check this. So the last quotation I do want to bring out is because this shows that Lexis for Microsoft Office has the capability to check block quotes for accuracy, both substantively and with respect to a pinpoint page. So let's go ahead and run refresh report now that we have our citation changed for the quotation where it didn't originally match the cited doc. And as we can see, that was confirmed to be correct. And that concludes our in-depth training on check quotes. Thank you for your attention.